What if I told you I could show you a list of 174 cruises that you could book right now for $49 a day? Would you be excited? I'll bet that in the course of this video, I can talk most people out of trying it. In the past 3 days, my wife and I have made 2 new bookings on Holland America cruises for later this year. These 2 bookings are some of the most exciting trips that we've ever planned, but they are also by far the strangest. Our bookings are for a new standby program from Holland America. Up until this month, the program had been in sort of a pilot phase with very limited cruise offerings. But Holland America has now committed to this in a massive way, which is why the program now encompasses a massive list of 174 cruises. Most Americans are probably too young to remember standby airline tickets. If you do, you'll have a head start on the concept. Let me explain how it works. As most cruisers are aware, most cruise lines sailing today are operating at full capacity, with every cabin sold. But inevitably, somebody who has a confirmed ticket can't sail. Family emergencies, illness, last-minute work issues, whatever. Or maybe it didn't sell out completely for some reason. What if a cruise line were able to fill those empty cabins at the very last minute? This is the rationale behind Holland America's new standby program. Let's pre-sell deeply discounted, space-available tickets for people who could board the cruise ship at the very last minute with everything all done that's needed to board. Somewhere between 7 days and 2 days before sailing, we'll go down the list, offer any vacant rooms to those passengers on a first-come, first-served basis. There's no choice of cabin, no choice of class of cabin. They take whatever's available. Whoever doesn't make the cut gets their money back. Sounds wonderful, doesn't it? Before you rush to the phone to book that trip, let me give you 3 big caveats that I mentioned before. We'll start with the biggie. You pay for the entire cruise up front, and it is non-transferable and non-cancelable and non-refundable. In other words, if your name comes up as able to board the ship and you're not there, you've lost the entire amount. And it may not be covered by travel insurance. I'll explain that in more detail later in the video. So there's some risk. Caveat number 2, transportation. Now, most people when they go on a cruise fly to the cruise port before boarding the ship because they're normally not within driving distance. And they build the cost of the trip, the airfare and the hotel stays, into their trip so that they're in a position to board on time. Since there's no guarantee in this case that you will ever board or that you will know before the time it is that you need to leave home, Holland warns that this program is specifically designed for people who can drive to one of the 6 departure areas in the US and Canada. The 6 are Seattle/Vancouver, Whittier, Alaska, San Diego, Fort Lauderdale, Boston, and Montreal/Quebec. You should plan on having 2 days notice, which will come via email. A look at the map here shows how many cruises are available from each of these port areas. Caveat number 3, pre-planning. Now remember, you don't have a cruise ticket. What you have is a lottery ticket that might win you a cruise ticket. So, you're not able to book shore excursions, dining packages, etc. because all of these need to have a confirmed booking to which to attach. So, you still want to do this? Okay, let me tell you our experience booking 2 of these. By the way, this might be a good time to explain who we are. My wife and I are a retired couple who live in Washington State. We've traveled extensively by cruise and independently, and we like to share what we've learned with other fellow travelers. We have over 125 travel videos on this channel. We add about 1 a week. If you like cruising and you like cruise-related travel content, we invite you to like and subscribe. There's 2 different ways to make a standby booking, and we've done both. The first would be with HAL directly. The page shown here is the main page on the HAL website that describes the program. I'll leave the link on the screen for a while if you want to write it down, but you can also Google Holland America standby list. As I scroll down, you can see all the cruises that are currently available. They're sorted in departure date order within each region. As you can see, trips to Alaska out of Vancouver or Seattle make up more than half the cruises. This is not surprising, since HAL is headquartered in Seattle and devotes much of its fleet to Alaska during the summer season. The page doesn't have links, but if you Google Holland America and the cruise number on the far right of each line, it'll bring up details regarding that cruise. Once you're ready to book, one option is to call HAL directly at the number shown on the page. When the automated voice asks why you're calling, say, "Book a cruise." And since many of the reps may not have had experience, your first question when you actually get a rep is, do you know how to book a standby list cruise? We did this on the very first day that HAL loaded out their summer cruise schedule. Many of the agents had never made this type of booking before, and we got one of those on the first try. After 15 minutes of frustration for both of us, we gave up. The second time we tried, we were successful. We booked a 7-day standby ticket for 2 people to Alaska for $1,400, which is $49 per person per day plus taxes and port fees. This is about $1,000 cheaper than the current inside cabin rate. Now, kudos to Holland America for working to get this program up to par. After my first booking failure, I posted a comment on one of the Holland America Facebook forums asking others how they had managed to book their tickets since I had failed. Several others joined in to share their comments. 2 days later, I received a call from the corporate office apologizing for the service I had received and promising that they had worked to correct the situation. As a result of our collective experience, Holland had added new training resources and new web resources to help the team be able to book these. This should mean that it's a smooth process for you all going forward. But what if you want to work with your regular travel agent? After we did the initial booking through Holland, we decided to do a second one through our normal travel agent. Again, this was the first time she had ever done this, so we worked through the process together. Now, remember that travel insurance issue? You don't have a cruise ticket. You have, in effect, as I said before, a lottery ticket. So if you cancel, will your travel insurance consider this an expense that's reimbursable? It will likely depend on the insurance. In this case, since I was planning a much longer cruise and much further out with more uncertainty, we opted to add some additional HAL travel insurance to the coverage I already have. And our travel agent again had to make 3 phone calls before reaching someone who could finally help, finally asking to speak to a supervisor. You should also be aware that your agent will not be able to do the booking directly themselves, but they wind up having to call HAL in the same way that you should. So you don't expect them to be overly excited about the process, and they will also want to make sure that you understand all the caveats that are involved. If the second cruise happens, it will save us thousands of dollars. But the logistics are very complicated. We're going to fly to Florida, likely before knowing if we're going to board the ship. If not, we have a second backup vacation plan in Florida. So, what about you? If you're a person who doesn't read the fine print, and you assume you can talk your way out of any problems, this is not the program for you, because you won't be able to do that. If you don't tolerate uncertainty and risk, don't do it. If you're not willing to be in the cruise port city regardless of the boarding, don't do it. If you're unwilling to spend thousands of dollars months in advance for a gamble, keep your money. We are doing it. Twice. And we're going to post exactly what happens on this channel so you can judge for yourselves how it turned out. I'd love to hear in the comments anyone else who has tried this, what their experience was, and suggestions that you may have. Until next time, safe travels. But what if you want to work with your regular truck? Try this a third time.